10, 9, 8, 7, 6, start, 2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
What's the scariest thing you've ever done?
Oh, here it comes. You know that feeling you get when something just doesn't seem right? Something deep down inside. Something's rotten to the core.
You have taken the dreams of that 9-year-old boy, which were impossible. Watch the first people walk on the moon, and to me it was just an obvious thing. I want to somehow turn myself into that. But the real question is,
theory has gained momentum when NASA admitted that it had lost the original footage of man's first steps on the moon.
YouTube and watch A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. It contains newly discovered evidence, which is part of the missing tapes, of outtakes from the first mission to the moon, of them falsifying a shot of being halfway to the moon. You have to ask yourself, if Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic in 1927, would it be 50 years before anyone of any nation on Earth flew across the Atlantic in an airplane? And that's what we're to believe. If it were so easy to go to the moon 40 years ago, there would be bases there by now.
What are you telling me, NASA?
Aron, tell us why you have changed your mind and now become a skeptic.
Sure, thanks for having me on, Geraldo. I really appreciate it. Well, let me first clarify. I was paid by the state of Ohio in 1999 to spend a year trying to prove we actually landed on the moon. And I was a total believer.
Wait, you were paid with taxpayer money from the state of Ohio?
The state of Ohio.
Who was the governor? Another issue, but go ahead, tell us more.
Anyway, so I took a year and I traveled across the country, and folks, I've actually posted it on YouTube. It's called Did We Go? And the challenges, Geraldo, everywhere I went, it was just amazing. Moon rocks falling in Antarctica, Neil Armstrong's silence. But I was the first to report, and you played the clip earlier tonight, that all the science data, the telemetry data was missing. Now, Geraldo, for NASA to come out and say that all the tapes were erased, I mean, it's incredible. Geraldo, this isn't just one tape. This is reams of tape labeled Apollo 11 moon landing.
NASA, where's your shame? You look us in the eye, you tell us those lies. It'll never be the same.
Okay. You know, it's very challenging to try to prove we landed on the moon, and it shouldn't be challenging. The tape should be there. There should be plenty of evidence.
But how in the world do you erase the tapes of the most historic event in 2,000 years? I mean, it's not like it was a bar mitzvah. You know what I mean? And Bill, you're the one guy in the panel who hasn't swung it or been punched by Buzz Aldrin. You say Buzz and his buddies really went.
Got the NASA blues.
And the evidence overwhelming, by the way. Evidence overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And the growing
just think about it.
skepticism
All
among
the
young
sailors
people.
on those, all the sailors on the aircraft carriers who watched the thing come
Oh,
back.
it hurts so much.
Their story is that they were actually in their story is that they were in a transport airplane. They threw the thing out of the transport airplane. It went. Anyway, I want to thank Bart Sibrel, Aron Ranen, and of course.
I dreamed to be
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
Study astronomy.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
Buzzing me love on my TV.
Get out of here. This is a hotel. Right, we the police. You know, we paid. Come on in here. We'll call them.
Now it's just a bad
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
It doesn't, sir. I don't have
I
nothing to do with
know,
this.
forgotten
That's
dreams.
on this property.
We just paid to rent out the penthouse to shoot up there. So,
Mr. Spaceman, why you lying to me?
Well, then I go to my man.
you gotta keep shooting, man. Okay, well, you can put it on your shoulder. Don't be shy.
You
really like it?
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, now, son, never gonna be the same. Oh, back to those NASA blues. Oh, Lord. Oh, NASA, what you've done to me. Mr. Spaceman, you've been lying to me.
NASA astronauts will perform the first of 3 spacewalks on Saturday. They'll use special helmets fitted with snorkels. The astronauts will replace a broken cooling pump on the International Space Station over Tri. The snorkels funnel air from their spacesuits if there's an emergency and will clear water. The helmets were modified after an Italian astronaut's helmet filled with water during the spacewalk in July. He nearly drowned. NASA says it cannot guarantee the water issue will not happen again.
Oh, NASA, take a bow, you've been fooling me.
Okay, that's it's a little bit more. So we can see your hand now. See we can
Watch the first people walk on the moon, and to me it was just an obvious thing. I want to somehow turn myself into that. But the real question is...
Okay, that's it's a little bit more. So we can see your hand now. See we can Okay, that's it's a little bit more. So we can see your hand now. See we can Okay, that's
I feel your
it's a little bit more. So we can see your hand now. See we can
I can see your
You and the Earth are going through the universe together. And you're holding on with one hand, looking at the world turn beside you. It's like that you might have to do. All the switches and all the wickets you have to go through. My left eye went blind.
Oh, when I went blind, so blind.
And I didn't know why. Suddenly my left eye slammed shut in great pain, and I couldn't figure out why my eye wasn't working. Well, maybe that's why we have 2 eyes, so I kept working. But unfortunately, without gravity, tears don't fall. And so you just get a bigger and bigger ball of whatever that is.
I got balls of tears for you.
Mixed with your tears on your eye, until eventually the ball becomes so big that the surface tension takes it across the bridge of your nose like a tiny little waterfall. And goes whoosh into your other eye, and now I was completely blind. And we finished everything on the spacewalk, and when we came back inside, Jeff got some cotton batting and took the crusty stuff around my eyes, and it turned out it was just the anti-fog, sort of a mixture of oil and soap that got in my eye. And
got oil and soap, it always gets in my eye.
Now we use Johnson's No More Tears, which we probably should have been using right from the very beginning.
No more tears in my eye.
But
Bart, Someday we'll invent a solution for the.
You can see the fault lines of San Francisco and the way the water pours out under the bridge. Just entirely different than the Soyuz, that little one. 3 of us climb in, and then this spaceship detaches from the station and falls into the atmosphere. These 2 parts here actually melt. We jettison them and they burn up in the atmosphere. The only part that survives is the little bullet that we're riding in, and it falls into the atmosphere. And in essence, you are riding a meteorite home. And riding meteorites is scary, and it ought to be. But instead of riding into the atmosphere, just screaming, we were laughing. It was fun. And when the great big parachute opened, we knew that if it didn't open, there's a second parachute. And
down 3:14 and 48 seconds a.m. Central Time.
And you roll to a stop as if someone threw your spaceship at the ground and it tumbles end over end. But you're ready for it. You're in a custom-built seat. You know how the shock absorber works. And then eventually the Russians reach in, drag you out, plunk you into a chair, and you can now look back at what was it.
Okay. It's very challenging to try to prove we landed on the moon, and it shouldn't be challenging. The tape should be there. There should be plenty of evidence.
This thing, but how in the world do you erase the tapes of the most historic event in 2,000 years? I mean, it's not like it was a bar mitzvah. You know what I mean?
You have taken the dreams of that 9-year-old boy, which were impossible.
The same mission, same guys that took the picture of the most famous picture of our Earth. I'm going to do save image as NASA. And let's see, Apollo Moon. Let's call it Apollo Moon 17. And I'm going to open that in Photoshop. And do you guys still see it? It was planned. And think I'm scamming you? Go do it for yourself.
Oh, wow.
You're going to find the exact same thing. I got nothing to hide here. This is live on the air, okay? I'm going to zoom in on the Earth in Photoshop. Levels over here. And I'm going to bring the levels up. Uh-oh. What is that?
Oh, wow.
Screaming. We were laughing. It was fun. And when the great big parachute opened, we knew that if it didn't open, there's a second parachute. And
yeah, wow. Why is there a square box around the Earth allegedly taken from the scientists on the moon in Apollo 17? And people wonder why I don't trust NASA. That's why I don't trust NASA.
You're right. In order to go out into that near perfect vacuum of space, we would have to be at an atmospheric pressure, or the astronauts would have to be at an atmospheric pressure somewhat close to what that space would be, so that when they went outside, it would kind of inflate their spacesuit and give it some pressure. But the problem with that is that when you get biological material or even water in that much of a vacuum, first of all, water will boil all by itself when it's in that much of a vacuum. And of course, that's been proven, by the NASA documentation. I think you may have even put it in here. But beyond that, the guy that was in there, the astronaut that was subject to that, he said, well, the last thing I felt just before I passed out was the water on my tongue starting to bubble, right? Yeah. So this is another reason that NASA doesn't use this gigantic, outrageously expensive vacuum chamber for training, because it's as simple as this. No human being can survive in a vacuum like that. It is simply impossible. And the idea that a 3/16 inch quote-unquote pressurized suit is going to save you from that is beyond belief, because it would make that suit so unbelievably rigid. It would be like the most taut balloon ever, and you wouldn't even be able to, forget about moving your fingers. You wouldn't be able to move your arms or your body, your torso, anything, because it would be so unbelievably rigid from the incredible pressure, that pressure differential between the inside of the suit and the outside near perfect vacuum. Not to mention the fact that the guy's blood would be boiling, right? So and here it is right here. Here they're going to put water inside of a vacuum chamber, and we're not even evacuating it that much. He's not getting anywhere near the level of a vacuum of space, right? And so what happens? Here it goes. It's going to start bubbling just like the astronaut said.
very nice of you. And figured out a way to reprogram yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you.
People, reprogram yourselves.